This Part 3 video covers the 5 days of our 6-week RV trip, day 23 through day 28. From Colorado Springs, we drove down to Las Vegas, New Mexico. Then from there, we did a side trip over to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and another one down to Albuquerque, New Mexico. From there, we drove all the way down to Carlsbad Caverns. And then from Carlsbad Caverns, we drove up to Amarillo, Texas. Day 23 was just another travel day, driving the 250 miles for about 4 hours from Colorado Springs down to the Las Vegas, New Mexico KOA, where we stayed for 2 nights. Yeah, we started the day out on a real happy note as Denise decided to finally share her little bundt cake with me. Yes, and it was as good as it looked. One quick painful stop for fuel and we were on our way. We had a minor breakdown along the way with a bolt coming out of a stabilizing bar called a Watts linkage that I had to pull over and secure. It wasn't anything entirely critical, and I was able to secure it and continue on our way until I could get a replacement bolt, which I was able to do. I made a quick stop at the visitor center when we crossed into New Mexico, and I didn't think I was going to make it out of their parking lot. And we finally made it to the KOA in Las Vegas, and it wasn't too bad of a place. They had a breakfast there for $4.50 that they served every morning. But unfortunately, this is the second KOA I've been to that I couldn't get to coach level under one of their sites. I had the back end all the way up and the front end all the way down. I mean, it was pretty close. If I just scraped out a little bit under the front wheel, it would have been level. And I looked around and I see a couple of the other coaches. Here's one with the whole left or the whole right side of it completely off the ground trying to get level. On day 24, the weather forecast wasn't looking that good, so we drove the 66 miles over to Santa Fe just to see what it looked like. We drove around the downtown area. Saw these peppers hanging everywhere. I guess they're a good luck thing. I guess you hang on your house somewhere. A lot of museums, little pastry shops. We did go in to see the church here, the Cathedral Basilica. That was quite interesting. Then we walked around downtown area and it started pouring on us, so we had to kind of stay under the covered sidewalks. After a little walking, we decided to stop for a little treat. I got something with some apples on it. I figured I needed some good fruit. There it is. And Denise had something healthy too. There's a little indoor shopping mall, so we walked around in there. We also drove past the Grotto Chapel. Unfortunately, I didn't remember at the time about the significance of the Grotto Chapel that is known for its unusual helix-shaped staircase, and we didn't take the time to go in and see it, but we will when we return to Albuquerque in the fall. Since we had planned our trip so late in the year, I couldn't find a place near Albuquerque to stay and visit the annual hot air Balloon Fiesta, so we decided just to drive down and see what the Albuquerque area looked like. So for directions, I plugged in the address to the Fiesta Park, and we ended up driving right up to the main entrance gate. This is like a 2-hour drive, about 123 miles to get down there. As we drove up to the gate, and we were sitting there pondering where to go next, a guard walked out and asked us if he could help us out, and we said we were just coming down the Albuquerque area to check it out, and we knew we couldn't get into the Balloon Fiesta. He said, well, hey, you can park right over here and come on in now. He says it's free. Well, we found out that they only charge until 9 o'clock in the morning, quit charging, then they start charging at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He says, yeah, he says, you can park right there about 50 feet away and come in now and you just stay as long as you want. So I told Denise, we're here, we're going in. We arrived around noontime, so you can see there's not a whole lot of people around. So we walked around. Here's a chainsaw cutting exhibit. There you can see us looking toward the gate. Here's some guy who had an Airstream that looked like a lunchbox. So there were a few vendors there. I guess everybody pretty much leaves during the day. Oh, and these are all hats. So we had a lot of time to kill. And unfortunately, couldn't find any chairs anywhere. But till late in the day, we did find a couple near this outside lounge. And then those were skydivers and jumping out and lighting fireworks on the way down. We're around 6 o'clock now, and people are starting to gather. That's the Balloon Museum, and this is the VIP area. And that's the field itself. And the people are starting to show up and lay the balloons out. And there's one laying out in front of us, the green one. And you can see it there on the right. And there's Denise taking pictures of it. And people on the shirt, on the name of it, said Itsy Bitsy. And we weren't sure what that was all about, but you'll see here shortly when the balloon gets all inflated. See, the rest of the balloons are starting to inflate also. It's probably around 6:30 now. And I was curious how they went about to inflate one of these. So I stayed here to photograph the entire process. And what I found out there, they got a portable fan. It's got a Honda engine on it, and that thing really rips. And once they get it blown up, this part, then they start throwing the gas into it. Now you see up on the top, you see that black spider, and that's the Itsy Bitsy Spider. I believe it was some pest control company that was sponsoring it. Now all the balloons are pretty much all inflated. They don't fly in the afternoon, but they do what they call a twinkle glow. So as the sun goes down, they periodically are hitting the burners, and they're lighting them up like a big light bulb. And you'll see more here shortly. There's the Wells Fargo stagecoach, and you're free to walk around right up next to them everywhere. There was a lot of people there, but there was still plenty of room to get around. They had some live entertainment, like a carnival. It's bimbo bread. There are literally hundreds and hundreds of balloons there. The weather was absolutely gorgeous. We stayed all until they were through and they were deflating the balloons, and we started to walk out. And then all of a sudden some fireworks started going off. So we hung around and they put on one awesome fireworks show in the evening, and actually on both ends of the field. Then they had skydivers jumping out at nighttime and lighting fireworks off as they come down. We never got to see the balloons fly, and they didn't fly that morning because of, I guess, some bad weather. So we're planning on going back. We're going to be staying about 4 or 5 days, and we'll see the whole event later this year. say these fireworks go on every single night. So it was a long 2-hour drive back, and we got back to our campsite after dark, and then pack up the next morning and headed south for Carlsbad, New Mexico. Day 26 was just another driving day as we made the 256-mile, 4.5-hour drive down to Carlsbad, New Mexico, KOA. A lot of empty spaces. Didn't see much of anything along this route. Although we did spot a couple of strange-looking cowboys alongside the road, pointing at each other. We unexpectedly, and I hadn't realized it, ended up driving through Roswell, New Mexico, and I was surprised at how big of a town this was. I just thought it was a crossroads in the desert somewhere, but it's a town of 50,000 people. So we drove down through the town and back to where we were supposed to turn off, and we could see these little green men everywhere in front of everything. Even when we got to the campground, we were greeted by a couple little green aliens. This was a pretty nice campsite. It was well spread out and very clean, very level. On day 27, we made the half-hour, 21-mile drive up into the mountains to the Carlsbad Cavern National Park. And we got there just in time for the last group that was allowed to enter to go down into the caverns. So we got down and was able to make the whole trek around through it. And then we stayed for the bat flyout, which is around, well, at dusk in the evening. There were a lot of little sites along the route going into the caverns with a lot of information signs. And we got to ride the elevator coming back up, and it was just closing up, and so we had time to walk over to the amphitheater and get a seat for the show of the bats flying out of the cave. Unfortunately, they make you shut all your phones and the cameras and everything electronics got to be turned off. They say it bothers the bats, so we were allowed to take some pictures ahead of time. That's the cave they fly out of. Then after this, we had to put everything away. This was it pretty much for day 27. Day 28 was a very long driving day over to Amarillo, Texas, seeing 250 miles of absolutely nothing. It was unbelievable how desolate that area is. It was a 283-mile drive in over 5.5 hours. After getting settled in at the Oasis RV Resort Campground, which was a beautiful place, that evening we went over to the Big Texan Steak Ranch. And this place is home to a free 72-ounce steak meal, if you can eat it all within an hour, that is. And I did not try it. There's the Big Texan. It's kind of a touristy place, but we had to go in and try one of their steak meals. And they had a lot of little gadget type stuff sitting around. There's a steak meal. They had a shooting gallery and a big rocking chair and one of these little machines. There's old Sparky. Put $1 in him and see what happens. Okay, Denise is going to light this poor old guy up. And put the... Trying to figure out where to put the money.
Doesn't like the money.
Oh. Oh, there it goes.
Pardon me? Can I get a pardon? Under no circumstances should you throw switch number 2. Say, will you go to the Big Texan gift shop for me? I want a Mars bar, a metal file, a new lawyer, and some sunburn lotion.
Okay, he's cooked. Gotta go open the door. Well, pull it in. Pull it hard. Huh?
You stick $1 in there?
Need to get your money back.
All right.
Now that one is. For good time, open the door, he says.
Please do. Come on through.
Well, as soon as I get this door unlocked, I may be able to get out of here. Thank you for opening up there, son. I figured I may have to sleep in here for 2 or 3 days. Yeah, it looks like a gun's unlocked on me. I'd like to get into a little extra roll of, put some paper in here. Just about used everything there. Getting kind of bad there, just one sheet, you know. So if you happen to have some extra, just bring it on in here when you come in, because if not, it's sure going to be a mess around here.
Of course, you got to have slot machines and lots of cakes. I didn't try one of their slices of pie. I found out it was like $6 or $7 for a little slice of cake. But we did try their steak dinner. It was pretty good. And while we were there was one gentleman trying to tackle their 72-ounce dinner. There it is. And after our stay in Texas, or not Amarillo, the next video, part 4, will cover the Cadillac Ranch and a drive down to Palo Duro, Canyon State Park and drive over to Weatherford, Oklahoma, and then on to Branson, Missouri. So you can watch that. And did I mention it's touristy? $25 for that coffee cup. And they wanted $50 for a single plate. I thought they were selling a whole set, but that was a single plate. So I hope you enjoyed the video.